So, Rise of the Tomb Raider was released on the Windows Store this past week, and so far a lot of people are not happy about the port from Steam to the Windows Store. Oh, okay Microsoft, you've done goofed again. What the hell have you done this time? Let's talk about it. How do you screw up a PC to PC port, you lot? I mean, it's the same platform. Well, here's how they, Microsoft and Square Enix, did just that. First off, the whole game is not bundled as an executable file like it is on Steam and basically any other platform that it's currently being sold on. Rather, it's using a format compatible with the Universal App Platform. Inherently, this isn't a bad idea. It means that it can be played on Windows 10 devices. So far, though, that's the only advantage going for it, as it's all downhill after that. Problem with not using exe files is that A, it's not moddable, which we'll touch on later, and B, it isn't compatible with other plugins like the Steam Overlay or SweetFX, or even the recently released Steam controller. Second thing that's been screwed up are the video modes and just general settings to the game itself. You can't have VSync turned off, a common problem for many PC gamers, even if you have a high-end rig, because VSync can cause issues with control latency. For example, if you press the A button on a controller, said controller might take half a second to respond, rather than the response being pretty much instant. The frames you see on screen have to sync up to avoid screen tearing, even if it does cause input lag, hence VSync, vertical sync. What else? Borderless full screen mode. A favourite amongst streamers, not so much for people who actually want to play the game properly, and is the only video option in game, supposedly so alt-tabbing always works on games, it makes sense. But Alt-Tab works on the Steam version of Rise of the Tomb Raider anyway, so this seems a bit pointless. Not to mention that even if there was a VSync option in the game, which there isn't on the Windows Store version, Windows 10 forces it on windowed and borderless full-screen mode games and applications anyway, without an opt-out, short of forcibly removing the Xbox app from Windows 10, which is a hard and convoluted process to do. The files for the game are also protected with higher than admin privileges. For wannabe modders out there, it means that unless you know your way around file permissions, you can't copy-paste files to and from the install directory. It also means that you can't read-write files either, despite, being on your computer, and often being the sole person who uses it, and having admin privileges. Just basic things like that they've totally ignored. This is a list, by the way. This is a huge list. There's also no SLI or AMD crossfire support, though, like with VSync, it currently isn't a UAP feature, rather than anything more malicious. You could almost forgive Microsoft for being short-sighted in regards to SLI and crossfire, as the company somehow didn't expect a lot of people using two graphics cards simultaneously for better performance. I'll admit it's a niche thing to do, but it doesn't give them an excuse to not support the feature in the first place. And finally, it's obviously not multi-platform in terms of playing on a Windows PC to then play the game on Mac or SteamOS and Linux, if the game even gets the port to those platforms in the first place. I live in hope. To recap, for £40 60 American dollars, or 70 Canadian dollars, if you somehow want the Windows Store version of the Rise of the Tomb Raider, you get less features than the Steam version, no mod support, but the ability to play the game out and about, assuming you have a phone or a tablet running Windows 10. That isn't a fair compromise in the slightest. It's like Microsoft is trying to turn the PC marketplace into a console marketplace. A Windows console, if you will. You think they would try to compete in the emerging market for HTPC-based gaming rigs? Oh, wait. Didn't Steam Machines just release at the end of last year? That seems to be a common pet theory amongst PC gamers, as Microsoft wants to do what I'm calling consoleizing the market. They're already starting with this idea too, as The Division is a Windows Stores exclusive, not unlike console exclusives, such as Super Mario Galaxy being only on the Wii. The Division won't be released on Steam, and will most likely have the same restrictions imposed upon it, like with Rise of the Tomb Raider. No SLI or crossfire, VSync is forcibly enabled, and borderless full screen will most definitely make its way into the game, even if it is just temporary. Microsoft, being the OS mogul they are trying to simplify the experience with games on the Windows Store, and I get that. This is not a bad thing. But like with Windows Update, which by the way has a changelog for each update now as of writing, they went overboard while in the simplification process. The answer to the question, what is VSync, is not where the hell is VSync? If you own a PC and you game on it, you likely have at least a little bit of understanding of what you're playing on. The solution is, like with adding back in Windows Update changelogs, is to put the features in the UWP for future releases. because that's why full screen isn't an option you can turn on. Not because it doesn't work, but because it might cause problems on PCs, which is a really bad excuse, you guys. Sort it out. We expected better from you. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to this weird little list rant. I don't know what you would call this one because it's a bit weird. And I apologise for the quality being even worse than normal because, well, I don't have a computer. My power in my house is totally dead, so a little bit of fun news for you. Don't worry, I'll be back next week, as tradition of these DVs. I thank you very much for listening. Yeah, that'll do.